Daisy, I'll start with you. This is the first time that a British king has met with a U.S. president in something like 80 years. It's another historic moment for King Charles. What does this moment mean for these two leaders?
I think you could really see in the body language and the way that they interacted with each other that there was a genuine warmth there. This wasn't just for show. When you looked at King Charles and President Biden together, there's been some chatter here that might amuse you that maybe President Biden had broken royal protocol by sort of touching the back of the king's body, the back of his back. And in fact, that has been completely shot down, with people close to the king saying the king is delighted. The king is actually quite a touchy-feely person, and he just thought that showed the genuine warmth between the two men. And of course, they have that shared passion of the environment and the green agenda.
I didn't have King Charles down as a touchy-feely person, but if he knows anything about President Biden, he could probably assume he's going to get at least a pat on the back. Michael, President Biden's been working to strengthen his ties with Prime Minister Sunak. They've met several times over the last couple of months. Now, today, he has this face-to-face with the king to focus on climate, key issue for Charles, obviously, for the last couple of decades. In this post-Brexit world, are we seeing signs that these two countries can still do big stuff together?
I think we are, Garrett. And, you know, having both a chief of state and a head of government, king and prime minister, it's almost like a belt and suspenders. You know, Great Britain has had 4 prime ministers in the last 4 years. At the same time, there have been 2 chiefs of state, Charles and his mother, and the long relationship with President Biden between him and the once Prince Charles is something that helps here. And, you know, the images that we're seeing of the president and the king, it really harks back to other moments in history when the world was in crisis. For instance, 1939, when Franklin Roosevelt had King George, this king's grandfather, to the United States for a visit to prepare for the United States for the possibility that we may have to fight to defend Britain in a war. Or the 1980s, when Ronald Reagan had a surprisingly close relationship with the Queen, Queen Elizabeth, based not least on their love of horseback riding. And then a few years later, the Queen came back, Elizabeth, 1991, and saw President George Bush on the South Lawn of the White House. As we can see in this image, she was not quite tall, or I should say the lectern was not quite short enough for her. And this picture is called the talking hat picture because all people could see from this vantage point was a hat talking into the microphones. She had a sense of humor about it. So did President Bush.
Michael, how important is it for the American audience to see King Charles playing a diplomatic role with our president, both from kind of the historical standpoint that you just fleshed out, but also politically? I mean, if you're the Biden administration, this is what you want people to see, right? This is the president out doing head of state president stuff on the world stage.
Sure is. I mean, Franklin Roosevelt's relationship with King George, although it irritated some people who didn't want the United States to get into a war, it made him look like a world leader for them to be sitting side by side in Roosevelt's open car. Same thing with Reagan when he ran in 1984. The subtle message was, or not so subtle, do you want to throw away this close relationship, this world leader, Ronald Reagan, in favor of someone who may not have that kind of relationship? And the other thing you rightly mentioned, Garrett, was Brexit and the rocky last few years. This is a time where, more than ever, this relationship between the United States and the UK has been tested. Now that we're at war in Ukraine, now that people like Donald Trump and a substantial part of our Republican Party are at least questioning the value of NATO and whether we should stay in it at all, Joe Biden is an assurance to our allies and others in our own country that there is someone who shares the values that go all the way back to President Truman signing the NATO Treaty 1949.
Right. In some ways, there's nothing more normal than seeing our president and, British figures working together on these global issues. If you're a president who's trying to project normalcy, that's what you want to do.
Absolutely.
But Daisy, this is important to the royal family, too. I mean, talk about how this is playing in the UK especially after all these months of public focus on Harry and Meghan, the 2 former royals who've taken up so much of the spotlight on that side of the pond.
I think people here are really relieved to see, in a way, the royal family getting back to business as usual, welcoming the President of the United States. That is a big deal, of course it is. But also being reminded that Charles and President Biden are of a similar age. There's only 6 years between them. That Charles met his first President of the United States when he was 10 years old. And in fact, President Biden was shown some documents today in Windsor Castle behind me commemorating that event, when his mother, the Queen, actually sent the President at the time a recipe for scones that he was very enamoured of when he met the Queen and Charles then. So there is a sense of business as usual. There's a sense of being reminded that Charles has been apprenticing for this job for 70 years, that he's met 10 out of the last 14 presidents himself, so he knows what he's doing. He's a safe pair of hands, but that just as you two chaps were saying now, there are issues that need to be sorted, whether or not it's the environment, whether or not it's this country's place in the global economy and global politics, whether it's Brexit. All these issues will benefit from some soft diplomacy that Charles is very, very capable of doing.